Okay, good morning. This is Rabbi Shlomo First here, Yeshiva Samanavshi, located here in Yerushalayim, Yer Kodesh, not too far from the central bus station on Rehov Zikron Yaakov number 6, the Beit Knesset of Chanukah Yeshiva. Since we're close to the bus station, you can walk, you can take a bus from there. Sometimes walking is easier quicker than taking the bus. Driving, of course, coming from Hutz Lars, please come and join us and participate in our shir. The first shir is on Pirkei Avos. We're now learning about the Anshe Knesset Gedolah, the third of the three things they commanded Klal Yisrael for all Doras to preserve Torah is that we should make a sayeg, a fence for the Torah. So the second Meforish commentary we have on our page, Rabbeinu Yonah. We did this yesterday, but we learned that we can do it again. It's a big yesod, and it's worthwhile going it over again, even if we learned it before. Go ahead, Lauren, if you like. Rabbeinu Yonah, Perish, and commentary on Avos.
Okay. Vasu Siag Torah, you should make a fence around for the Torah. Inyan Shenemar Ushmartem Esh Mishmarti, you should watch my watching.
Right, you should guard my my fences. Meaning, as I said yesterday, Baruch Hashem had a little bit of a chiddush yesterday. Like you have a fence. Mm-hmm. Maybe you have an electric fence.
Right.
But you have guards they're not protecting the fence, but you have guards that are also on duty by the fence. Right?
Okay. Klomer, which is to say, Asu Mishmeres and Mishmarti, make a fence. A guarding,
a protection for my
protection. Vasyag hu davar gadol, and this fence is a big thing.
It's a great thing. It's not to be taken lightly.
Okay. Meshubach lasos syag v'geder, and it is praiseworthy to make a fence. And I'm not sure the difference between a siyag and a geder is.
Yeah, it could be. Well, you have like a guardrail, which would not necessarily be like a fence, but okay. It's a side fences and guardrails.
Lemitzos
and barriers a geder could be a barrier.
Okay.
Yeah, but again, they're serving the same thing more or less.
Right. Lemitzos and mitzvos. V'val yachol u'lahaskil bahem. In order.
That means not the val yokel that you should not be able to fall
cross over, pass over them.
Right.
Hare hayira.
Now this is important in the Kuda. This is an important principle that Rabbeinu Yonah is laying down. Hayira meaning fear. Meaning fear.
Es devar Hashem. You should fear the word of Hashem. L'chein hamakayim es devarai hare zeh shehem siyagim lemitzvos shel Torah. Therefore,
Divri Chazal. Yeah. L'chein hamakayim divri Chazal. Therefore, hamakayim, the one who fulfills divri Chazal, the words of the Chachamim, shehem sayagim lemitzvos, that they are fences for the mitzvahs.
Chaviv is beloved.
Yes. Cherished.
Hayira miri she'oso hamitzvos asma. More than one who just does mitzvahs themselves.
Meaning, this is the Yisod now. It says the person who is watchful to fulfill, right, the sayah, the protective barriers that Chazal have set up to protect the words of Torah, that person, his hayira, that person, his respect for Kadosh Baruch Hu, that's respected, that's cherished more by a Kadosh Baruch Hu than the person who does the mitzvah in the deraisa himself. Why? He explains it there.
Ki'ein asiyat mitzvahs hochiach hayira, because just doing the mitzvahs does not lead to fear.
It's not a proof of his fear. Meaning, doing the mitzvahs deraisa is not a proof of a person's fear. Meaning, it is a proof of fear, but it's not in the same level of proof of fear. Kamo
hashomer
l'sayagim,
the one who watches the fences.
Right. So again, just that ki ein asiyas mitzvahs hochacha liyira kamo hashomer sayagim, that the performance of the mitzvahs deraisa is not a proof of the fear of a person's fear for Kadosh Baruch Hu, like that person who is observant of the fences, the sayagim.
Shehu Nazahir, he's very careful at the beginning, Shalo Yaver every day, she does not come to perform an Avera.
Negligence, because she won't be, therefore, if he's watchful in fulfilling the sayagim, the fences that Chazal, the Rabbanan, have set up for us, right? So initially, therefore, he's not going to come to be negligent in the actual Issa D'Oraisa. We're going over the Rebbeinu Yonah, the second commentary on the page. Good morning.
Also, someone who does the mitzvahs and is not fulfilling the siyagim, Mara Lonu, it appears to us.
Good, he shows us, or it appears to us.
Ki yitav beinav lasos mitzvahs. It is better in his eyes to do the mitzvahs. Al yira beinav im poshia ba lefarot's parrots.
The fraud's parrots. Lochash.
He said, but to
We'd like to
avoid negligence, to break down the fences, he's not so worried.
Yeah, so but he explains a bit of the psychology what's going on here. Mitzvah, a person who does a mitzvah, let's say he puts on tefillin, he doesn't steal, right?
Yeah.
He says Birkas Hamazon, right? But Ein Mekayim Asayid, but he's not going to wash Maya Machroni, he's not going to wash before bread, but he benches, he makes a night. Or let's say mitzvahs, look, Birkas Nena making a Moshe Lechem Menorah, that's been to Rabbanan also, right? So he doesn't do those things, but he benches, right? So a person who does the mitzvah, but he doesn't do the sayah, he doesn't fulfill the dinim of the Rabbanan, Maralano, it's showing us Ki im yitiv be'einav lasos mitzvah, right? That even though it's good in his eyes to do a mitzvah, meaning a mitzvah d'oraisa, nevertheless, al yir be'einav im yifshabo leforotz paretz. He's not fearful, right? If he's going to be negligent and break through a fence, right? Lochash. He's not going to be concerned about that.
And what does that mean?
It's like this: that a guy's he's not going to steal a bank, right? Right? He's not going to rob a bank, but he'll throw a bomb into it.
Someone is saying that the purpose of putting siyagim up is to put limits on yourself. There's a mitzvah d'oraisa, you do X, you don't go over X, okay? And you put a siyag here, you only go up to the fence, so you never get to the edge of the cliff. Okay, but this person who doesn't put the fences up, doesn't do the fences, says he can walk along the edge of the cliff and he's never going to. He has it in his mind that he'll never fall off. He has, a lot. He just thinks that he is good enough. He's never going to fall off the edge of the cliff, even though he's walking the tightrope. Okay, and the whole purpose of the siyagim is to give yourself some protection, some leeway that if you're not right at the edge, you're not going to fall over.
Like muktzah, right? Muktzah.
Don't
lift up the pen. The writing is a sword, but the siyag is to pick up the pen.
Yeah.
So if there's no siyag, then you pick up the pen. Usually they come over.
Especially
writing.
That's a great example because you're used to picking up a pen and writing.
It's a siyag, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
muktzah in general. One of the reasons Rabbi explains what muktzah is all about. In general, one of the reasons we don't want Shabbos to become like a weekday. We're moving all our things that we move during the rest of the week, moving the cameras, moving the pots and pans that we're not supposed to be using on Shabbos, the electrical equipment and everything like that, then Shabbos would become like a more weekday than sanctified.
like turning out lights, okay? Now, you don't turn lights on Shabbos, but there are times like you wake up in the middle of the night and go to the bathroom, you walk into the bathroom, you just naturally turn the light on. Because you just do that. You do that without thinking. It's not an intentional act. that I've got to go turn on the light. You just do it. You walk in, your hand just naturally goes to the light switch, and that's the thing you have to protect yourself from. You put covers. That's why people put covers on light switches. Okay, so they turn the lights on, put the cover on, so you don't accidentally go and hit the light. So it's kind of preventing you from accidentally doing things that you know it's not the right thing to do, and you're not doing it intentionally. But sometimes accidents happen, and you want to keep yourself from getting into the accidental situations.
I'll give, so, years ago I was on a vacation. I was driving in Florida in the Everglades, okay? And on my map of the Everglades I had a certain thing, it had a very interesting thing on the map, off the beaten path. It's a national, I forgot exactly what it was, national something or something, right? Nothing, so I said, oh, that sounds very interesting. So me and the fellows we were driving with, we said, let's go. You know, we were just driving, had a four-wheel drive. We were just driving down through the Everglades. So we're driving, and there's one sign, come to a sign, that says prohibited area. No problem, keep going. Then there's another sign after 3 or 4 miles after that. It says, a zone which is unauthorized zone. No problem, keep going. And another 2-3 miles, get to there's a sign, a red sign with yellow, stop, right? Not even trespassers, but it said something like, stop, that entrance past this point is absolutely forbidden, right? And you could see on the, over the crest of the hill, there was a lookout point, and there was a guy with a gun looking at us with binoculars. So we finally got the idea that, we're not going to go any further. Turns out we finally figured out it was probably a nuclear silo or something like that that they put, put in the middle of Everglades. But, they give you a few warnings, so, all right, let's, prohibited, no, doesn't mean me. So you keep going until you finally get to the danger area, and then, so you don't want to get close to the danger area. So if you're not caring about the first 2 or 3 signs, right, so that shows you don't really care about the whole situation. Right. Finally, when it gets serious, okay, then you'll take it seriously, right? But without that, if a person has no respect for those things, he'll keep going. He'll keep going, and therefore, but we don't always see it that way. When we see that the Chazal are telling us to do certain things, right? So all the things will have certain examples that'll be coming up that. Why is it, for example, when a person will, as I mentioned yesterday about davening Meyer before the Zman, before Kutzos, that was the Gemara in Bracha. Because we saw the Gemara in the Mishnah in Bracha, they don't want you to, Chazal said only until Kutzos, even though you have the whole night long. They don't want you to go past, because if you do, right, you most likely go to sleep, right? And you go to sleep, you'll lose your whole mitzvah of Kriya Shema, right? So we'll see more about that. There'll be other examples. So all these concepts are for our benefit.
It's something they call Pesach.
Oh, I mentioned about Chometz. I mentioned about Chometz, about the 4th hour, the 5th hour.
Well, but if you remember the last, we're doing Kabbalah Shalom. He says on Korban Pesach, it says all night and then up until midnight. And then it says up until midnight. Right. Again, the idea being that you don't fall asleep and not get it done in time. You really do have all night up until sunrise to eat it, but say finish it by midnight to make sure you don't get close to the edge.
Right. Sean, good morning. Come on.
Good morning.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good to see how you're doing today.
It's exhausting. It's an hour and a quarter every time.
Seriously?
Huh?
Okay, good.
I tell you.
If you want breakfast or a...
No, I've had breakfast.
What takes you extra so long? The traffic?
It's straight from Mali Domin.
The traffic is what does it, or just the trip itself?
It's about 3/4 of an hour to an hour. Just under an hour and a quarter. I left home at 8:15. So I threw on about on the train, although probably the bus is probably be quicker.
Mm.
So one way or the other, I've got to get to Tachlan Kazit,
Right.
and then I walk.
Right.
That's about
You talked about getting off a little bit earlier, that might help.
Derech HaMelech.
Until you know, there are some shortcuts from the.
Me and shortcuts, I'll end up in Haifa.
Okay.
Derech HaMelech Lelech, you know? It's
Yeah,
Katuv, Befurish.
Good.
So I walk past. I walk down. And I walk past the Terem.
Right.
And then just walk
Sure.
10 minutes.
Okay.
At least I know I'm going the right direction.
Okay. Very good. Okay, we're in the second commentary on the page you have there. Just finishing up. Yeah. So it says, Yiford's getter. Yifshanu nachash. A person breaks through a fence, he'll be bitten by a snake. Okay. Hine dibri hachamim. Go ahead. What is the second part of Rabbeinu Yonah?
What time is she was like?
Usually 9 o'clock, 9.
What's the snake thing? What means breaks together?
The person's going to break through a fence, the snake's going to get angry at him because that's its home. He's going to get
Is
bitten by
it,
the snake.
so there's another shoot at 9:30, is it?
Yes, 9:30, 9:45.
Oh, okay, so I just want to get the idea.
הנה כי דברי חכם זצ"ל יסודות העליונות ויסודות ואילונות יראת שמיים שהוא עיקר העולם ויסוד המעלה. These the words of Chachamim, these are foundations, and Ilonos is trees.
Yeah, it's a phraseology that they're trees, like trees represent. It's just Tu B'Shvat, so we have a chance almost tonight in the trees. The trees represent many things. Yeah, Eitz Chaim. The Torah is like they grow, right? They grow, and also they can elevate a person as well, right? So there's those are things. Ah, good to see you. I was wondering about you.
I was wondering about myself.
Okay.
Fear of Hashem, they would need to hear fear of Hashem, which is the ikar, the basis of the world and the foundation of
The Yesod Hamal, it's a very high principle. It's a very, that's the basis of a person. The basis of a person is Yiras Shamayim. So a person who is fulfilling the words of Chazal, right? He shows that he's concerned about Yiras Shamayim, and that's going to help him grow and grow more and more.
the Chol Mitzvos Kulam Parpuros Aleha.
Yeah, and the mitzvahs are those things which are
Spice.
the decorations to all that, right?
Okay. V'zehu she'amru b'midrash, I can say the midrash, Kitolim v'decha v'yayin chavivin divrei sofrin v'yayin shel Torah.
Says that's a pasuk in Shushagitovim Todecha Miyayin, that your
Words are sweet, are better than wine.
right, and better than wine, and that means Divrei Sofrim, the Miyayin, so they're more chaviv, they're more cherished Divrei Sofrim than even the so to speak the wine of Torah. The words of the Chachamim are more cherished than the words of Torah, the wine of Torah itself. Okay, very good. So that's a big yesod. That when a person is fulfilling the words of Chazal, that shows that he has rooted it within himself, Yiras Shamayim, to a very great extent. Whereas if he's just fulfilling the words of the Torah itself, that doesn't necessarily show that he has too much Yiras Shamayim. Okay. Let's go on with the basic here, the Meiri. That's the third commentary here. That. And now go into a little bit of the background of what the Anshe Knesset Gedola had in mind when they made all these 3 commandments for us. That was one, the Sunim Bedin, to be delivered in judgment. Number 2, Talmidim Harbe, to establish many Talmidim. And finally, what we're discussing in depth now, also Saig the Torah, to make a fence for the Torah. What's the background here? Here he explains. Go ahead.
Somebody else can read?
Okay, Amram, you wanna, had a vacation?
Yes.
The third, basic Bechira, Iri. It was a Rishon, by the way. So no, he's a Rishon.
Mamar Shlishi Shiyasu Siyag Torah, the third item, to make a Siyag Torah. She'ad otosman lo hayu osim siyag asur or hamutar. Until that point, they didn't do any fences, whether it was for prohibition or for permitted.
The Osir es hamutar.
To permit the
Up until the time of the Anshe Cheskanah, in general, there were no public decrees about forbidding things which were permissible. Okay?
That there would be a worry that they'd come up to do an isser.
Right. I mean, that was the whole concept. The whole concept is we're setting up fences. We're forbidding things which are in fact mutter because we're concerned that people shouldn't come to do something which is forbidden in the Torah. Okay.
And because of that, they used to come to do the sin itself.
Right. I mean,
The
since there was no
the essence of the sin.
right the actual Avera itself, since there were no fences around the actual transgression, right? So that wouldn't stop people, and they would simply go into doing the Avera itself.
Sefer Ezra, like we found, they used to marry non-Jewish women in the book of Ezra.
Right. So what happened within the 70 years of Gullah's bubble, Ezra, he writes openly in his Sefer that he was very concerned about that within 70 years the intermarriage amongst Jews to the non-Jewish women was tremendous, right? And they didn't have anything to stop this because they simply never got a fence to protect themselves from being over the actual transgression. So they were marrying non-Jewish women.
Shabbat.
Also, they were Mechal Shabbos.
When we come at Dvarim and other items, V'ata begalut Bavel, התחילו לעשות תקנות וגידורים לקדש עצמן. במותר להם. And in Galut Bavel, they started to make takanot and fences to become holy on things that are permitted.
Right. So at that point, when in Gullah's bubble, they realized what was going on. The leaders of the generation realized what was going on, and they began to start to make enactments and decrees and fences to the Kaddish Atzman, to sanctify themselves in what was in fact permissible to them. Right? Why?
Shalol higia beisur Torah, not to come to Nisur Torah. Kvar etzion min Torah, kemoshe darshu Razal, and they've already taken from the Torah what the rabbis expounded. Mishmarta et mishmarti, and you should watch my gardens. Asu mishmer mishmarti, you should make fences to my gardens.
So that's what led to this statement of the Anshe Knesset Gadol, when, as I said many times, when they finally came out of Gullah's bubble, and the Anshe Knesset Gadol came to Eretz Yisrael, rebuilt the base of English, they realized what was taking place in bubble, and there was a beginning of making the decrees and enactments already in Gullah's. So then they finalized in one statement, also Sayeg the Torah, that was a command for all generations, in order that the preservation of Torah and Klal Yisrael should continue even in a state of destruction, Chorban and Gullah's, which we'll see in the next, next few commentaries. They foresaw that even though they were now rebuilding the Bayis Sheni, that was not going to last. So they were intent on setting up Klal Yisrael in a way that it would preserve the Torah and the fulfillment of mitzvahs all through Bias Gold Tzedek, Bias Mashiach.
What kind of fence can keep somebody from marrying somebody?
Well, like, for example,
Kindness,
we're not
drinking wine.
Yeah, Pasako, right? We're not supposed to have non-Jewish bread. We're not supposed to, and the Knesset, even not the Raisa, but the Rabbanan, right? So if you don't get involved with them, you don't become friendly with them, if we can't sit and have a meal with them and drink wine with them, right? So we're not gonna get so close to them. We can maybe, we'll have our own private parties, right? But if you have these mixed parties, so you know how it goes.
Correct. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. Next, comment, Rav Bartanura on the Mishnah himself. Go ahead.
V'asuse ala Torah, geder shelo yavo lagia b'yusha Torah. Offense, you should not come to do something that's from the Torah. Kegon shinuyim la'arot, like seconds to arayot,
Shnius L'Arayos.
Rishvut Shabbat, and protection for Shabbat. Tichtiv u'shmartem mishmarti, asu mishmarti mishmeret and mishmarti.
Right. So therefore, all those things they made protections for Arayos, and all the things like doing business on Shabbos. Really, like you could really do midorais. You could do business on Shabbos. But Chazal stepped in and said you can't do any business on Shabbos, but you were afraid you might come to write it down if we're involved with doing business deals. So someone's going to want to say, well, let's get everything clear. We don't make any mistakes. By tonight, Moshe Shabbos, you might think it was $100,000. I might think it was $102,000. And so we better write this down before we forget, and we don't want to have any machlokas between us, right? So therefore, Chazal understood that if you be allowed to do business on Shabbos, which the Torah allows you, right? You might come to write down something, which that's what the Torah itself forbids. So that's just one of the shus rabbanim, which is forbidden on Shabbos.
So I've often wondered why we're allowed to make the davot on Shabbos.
It's
I mean, you've got the same idea there, haven't you?
right. Daber. It's really because it's shork mitzvah. They were in general, when it came to the needs to fulfill a mitzvah, right? Chazal never made a decree, a fence when it came to doing mitzvahs, right? So you have certain leniencies when it comes to doing a mitzvah. So if you want to make a pledge to the Beit Knesset, your person gets an aliyah, right? So therefore, it's mutter. There happens to be a bit of discussion in the Shulchan Aruch about whether you should really be doing it or not. But and some advise not to. It's better not to. But those who do, it's
They have to rely on the person's honesty.
Yeah.
If they give them the dollar, that they'll. I mean, in my shul, for instance, they hand an envelope to the person.
yeah.
No mention of money, just hand them an envelope.
Yeah.
They don't even do a mishaberah for money.
Right.
They do a mishaberah, a general mishaberah,
But
and they hand them an envelope at the end and say, and then it's up to the person.
Yeah, there are different ways of approaching it, but that's the also for example, when you want to let's say there's even Hatzalas Nefesh is pigeon shvuyim. Let's say you have to raise money, right? So that's the a case where you can even make specific announcements and campaigns in shul to do it, because that's for the sake of mitzvahs, Sekanos Nefashos, right? All the dinim where we have a refuah, they're not supposed to take medicines, right? Person has a simple headache on Shabbos. He's not supposed to take aspirin unless he's in a state where he can't. He has to go into bed and lie down to relieve his agony. Right? If he's not what we call nafal lemishkav, he hasn't fallen into bed, so he's basically walking around. Right? People can walk around with a mild fever, with a headache. Sometimes this kind of ailment, that kind of ailment. During the week, they pop a couple of pills for this and that, and they'll be happy and back to normal. Right? But on Shabbos, you can't do that because the person is not that ill that it's a situation where you can go through the fence that Chazal said that you're not supposed to take medicines on Shabbos. Why are you supposed to take medicines on Shabbos? Because medicines are usually ground up, pounded. You pound up the ingredients for the medicine, and that's an Issa D'Oraisa.
But wouldn't that be changed now, seeing that we get all our medicines ready-made?
The fact that our medicines are already made doesn't change the actual tikana, the actual decree. Right? I mean, you can go to hospitals, you go to nurses. The nurses come around, right? They have a little pestle in water, a little brass pestle in water, and because many patients can't take the pills, so they grind them, they pound them up, and they put them in a drink, and they drink it up. So it's still very common
I
that
see.
that it can be done.
But I learned that if you're on a series of medication,
Right. So therefore, if a
Where-
person's taking antibiotics, for example,
or even heart medicine,
yeah, whatever, if it's something which is taken on a constant basis, and it's going to be to his detriment to stop, right? So therefore, Chazal, again, since this is a fence, right? Chazal never made the fence when it's going to impinge on the person's health. That's also going to get a mitzvah. To keep your health is also a mitzvah. So just like they didn't make they didn't stand on their fence, they didn't keep their degree, or they never made their decrees in a situation where it would be a tzorach mitzvah, or it would be a dangerous situation of health, right? So therefore, that's why a person, if he's not feeling so well, he has an extreme migraine, and he has to lie down, right? If he doesn't take these pills, he's going to just have to lie down the whole Shabbos. So, or if he has a fever, then he has to lie into bed, right? So then he can take medicines according to the halachas relevant to them, because that's what we call a choile. Not pikuach nefesh, that's a higher degree. You have a choile she'ein bo sakana, he's a choile because he's in bed, so he's considered to be a sick person, right? But he's ein shel bo sakana, he's not in danger. Right? He's discomforted. He's discomforted, right? Then you have a sakanas aver. Let's say there's a dislocation, right? So it depends if modern medicine declares that to be a sakanas aver. If the arm is not replaced into its socket, will that affect permanently the arm or not? You have different gedorim. There's sakanas aver. There's called a she'ein bo sakana, a person who's not in danger. You have a choile she'esh bo sakana, he is in danger. Then there's pikuach nefesh, his life is in danger. Right? You have different levels of what you can do. Whether you can ask a non-Jew to do certain things, whether the person can do things himself for another person, or the person who's ill should do things for himself. So you have different levels of stringencies and leniencies depending on the situation. Right? But the general rule is, when it came to the mitzvahs and the health of a person, then they never made their enactments to be standing in those situations. But again, you have to speak to an experienced Orthodox rabbi who can guide you in all situations, depending on what it is. So, yeah.
What's a rias?
Illicit relations. Yeah. Okay. Let's just do one more. Yeah, one more. The Marchavis HaMishnah La'al Kasher. Have that there?
Yeah.
One more down. Yeah.
Ve'nei tam zot, hotzad and chicken and there's another reason for what they're on chicken and there. The Pisharo and Nevi'im Shechar Havayit the Gala, because the prophets saw that the Beit HaMikdash would be destroyed and they would be dispersed. The Chashemai Yipol Suffolk Torah. They thought maybe they would become a Suffolk on the Torah. Kemoshe Marnu Lamala, because before. Tzivuyotam She'asu Siyad Torah. So therefore they command them to do Siyad Torah.
Right. This is why Rosh Hashanah said this 2 weeks ago, that since they were Nevi'im with amongst the 120 Zakanim, elders of the Anshe Knesset Gedolah, they saw, in fact, that there would be the Charbon Bayis Sheni. They saw that the Bayis Sheni would not last, and there would be another Gullus. So they were intent upon preserving Torah and the Torah way of life throughout Kais, or throughout all situations, even in the face of another Gullus and another destruction of the Bayis Sheni. So that's what they set out to do, to preserve Torah throughout all situations, all generations. And it's Hashem till B'yas HaMashiach, Bez Hashem B'Karmi. Good.